Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Voices for Independence Fitness and Activities. Today, I am continuing our week-long series on Back to Basics. I'm going to be bringing you simple recipes for you beginner cooks and bakers out there. This morning, what we're going to be making is the run-of-the-mill scrambled eggs. Super easy recipe. Something you can do if you're just starting out. You can learn to do this and be confident in your cooking abilities. So what you're going to need for this recipe is some eggs and then any toppings that you may like to add to your scrambled eggs. I have some fresh vegetables here. I have some tomato, onion, some spinach, and then I have a little bit of extra protein with some turkey, and I also have some, actually I'm trying something new personally today. This is a plant-based vegan cheese, so I'm going to be trying that out new, but you can use whatever you want in your scrambled eggs, or you can just make plain eggs without any extra ingredients. For this recipe, you'll also need a little bit of milk. I'm using almond milk, obviously unsweetened. I don't want that sweet taste in my eggs. I don't think that'd go very well. But you can use your regular milk as well. Using milk in your scrambled eggs makes that really nice and fluffy egg. Now, if you cannot have milk or don't have milk or don't prefer milk, you can also use water in your scrambled eggs. They just won't be as fluffy, but they'll taste the same. Also, when you use water, that is a good substitute for milk when you want to make an omelet. Sometimes when you're making an omelet, you don't want that really fluffy egg in there. So water is the choice you'd want to use when making an omelet. But for scrambled eggs, we're going to use milk because we want that nice, fluffy, airy appearance. And also, we're going to be using our skillet on top of the stove top, or else if you have an electric skillet for your countertop as well, you can use that. And we want this on a medium-low heat. We never want high heat on our eggs. So I'm going to turn mine on now just to get a little bit started here. I'm going to keep it low until I'm ready for that step. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to crack my eggs into the bowl. I'm using, for this recipe, I'm using about 3 or 4 eggs. You can crack the whole egg in, or if you wish, you can use a couple of egg whites as well and not add all the yolks. For today, though, I'm going to add about 3 eggs and 1 egg white. So let me crack my eggs, and we'll get started here. Whoops, that's 2 days in a row. I've been having a shell issue. I've been super pro at my egg cracking this whole time. I think because my eggs are cold. Sometimes if your eggs are cold and you're cracking them, they'll tend to splinter a little bit more. So if your eggs are at room temperature, they'll crack a lot easier, make that single crack. Just a little tip there. So once you crack your eggs into the bowl, this is where we want to start whisking them vigorously. All right, so we're going to get our warm up into the workout of the day that's coming up next at 10, and we're going to mix our eggs right in this bowl prior to adding the milk or water as well. So you want to stir it up, and you want it to be a nice yellow consistency. That means yellow throughout. So you want to really break up those yolks and break up those egg whites. You also want to make sure, although this bowl may look a little large for scrambling a few eggs, you want to actually make sure you have room so you can use your whisk at a fast pace and not splash it all out. So it's actually better to use a little bit bigger bowl than you think you would need. So next what we're going to do is add about a 1/4 cup of milk to this. Again, I'm using about a 4 egg recipe, so I'm adding a 1/4 cup of milk. I'm actually have a 1/2 cup here, so I'm only going to fill it halfway. If you're making eggs for more than just yourself, you can obviously double, triple this recipe. It's a great recipe. It's easy to double, and it will go a long way. So once again, we are going to vigorously whisk up our eggs. We want to incorporate as much air into them as possible, and that's why we're using a whisk. And you'll see those little bubbles are forming, and that's the air that we are whisking into our eggs. And that will provide a much more fluffy scrambled egg in the end. So we'll give this a few more whisks. Again, if you don't have the hand strength or dexterity to whisk it, feel free to use a mixer as well, a hand mixer, and you can do the exact same thing. Next, we're going to take our skillet and we're going to add 1 tablespoon of oil or butter. Now remember, if you're using olive oil heats at a much lower temperature, so it'll burn a little bit easier. But since we are using this at a medium-low heat, you should be okay with oil. But I do have some butter today, an all-natural butter, which is okay to use in moderation. So I'm just going to put 1 tablespoon in my pan, and we want that to melt. Now we'll know that the skillet is hot enough for our eggs to be added when our butter is melted and starts to bubble a little bit, or if you flick a little bit of water on it and your water dances and jumps, then we'll know it's ready. So you can see my butter is already starting to bubble as it melts. So my skillet is warm enough to put our eggs in. So this is when we're gonna pour our eggs in, and what you wanna do, once your eggs go in, you really just want to let them set for a minute. You want them to start cooking from the bottom. Don't automatically start shuffling your eggs around, making them into the scrambled eggs. We really want to start cooking on the bottom first. So we're gonna pour our scrambled egg mix in. And now, like I said, we're gonna give it a minute or two. Let me see if I can tilt my screen a little bit, folks, so you can see the pan a little bit better. One moment without dropping the whole apparatus here. So we're gonna let it cook for a minute. And as the eggs start to cook from the bottom, we're gonna go ahead, and this is the point when you want to start adding some of your add-ins. So we can season it at this time because it's spread out in the pan, so you can get a nice even seasoning. So I'm gonna add some pepper, just a real basic seasoning mix here, and a little bit of salt. I don't need too much. Sometimes your ingredients, whether you're adding some meat or cheese, already has some salt in it, so you don't need too much. If you're just making your scrambled eggs plain, then add a little bit of salt for some flavor. And this is where we can start sprinkling in our delicious toppings or fillers that we want in our scrambled eggs. So I have some tomatoes, so I'm just going to sprinkle those throughout my scrambled egg mixture here. They're full of lycopenes, which are good for your heart. I have some of my cheese. Remember, I told you I'm trying that vegan cheese today. I'm going to see how well this melts up. It's a new product I wanted to try. It's a plant-based cheese. So for those of you out there who cannot eat dairy or try not to eat too much dairy, I'll let you know how it turns out, and I'll share that with you. We also have some onions, so I'm going to sprinkle some onion. I love onions, so I usually have it in most of my dishes I make. And then I have some turkey. I just bought regular lunch meat turkey, but I always try to buy the lunch meat that is less processed, whether it's uncured or has no nitrates or nitrites added. So it's a better option for processed meats, which is always something you need to read the ingredients and make sure you don't consume too much of. Then I'm going to add in spinach, one of my other favorites, and this is starting to look beautiful, as you can see here. And when you can start seeing it starting to cook on the bottom, you're going to want to pull it away from the edges. That's where we're going to start, and we're just going to pull it away. And as you pull it, some of the uncooked egg is going to take up those spots. And you can fold it in on yourself. Now remember, you don't want to overcook these. Eggs are very delicate, so even when we turn the heat down, they'll continue to cook a little bit. So you want to mostly, obviously, cook the egg all the way so all the liquid is gone, but still have that light and fluffy appearance. So I'm just going to pull it away from the edge until it starts breaking up into small pieces. Again, you can fold it over on itself so you can make sure that all your toppings are mixed throughout. And it's a very quick process, but don't rush it. Remember, I said eggs like a medium to low heat. We don't need a high heat. What you'll end up doing is making them tough and you'll end up browning the bottom of them, which might not be as desirable, and then the tops won't be as cooked. So there you have it. Super simple, folks. We got scrambled eggs, a super source of protein and nutrition for your breakfast. I'm just going to take that off the heat. So I hope you enjoyed the recipe. I'll share it. We're going back to basics, learning some simple cooking techniques for you out there who are apprehensive or just starting to cook or bake on your own. We're going to go and do some simple recipes that if you know how to do them, you can survive on your own if the grocery stores ever close down. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I will share it in the comments below, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.